you haven't checked lately, we're a pretty polarized society, aren't we? We bought into the other side narrative, but there's many sides of things, so many ways of categorizing one another, and we overlook the most obvious fact: we're all human.
Cause it's more about the way that you love your neighbor that can straighten out the words that you be shamed, or just your praying. It's the way that you love that can make a better way when people know that they're loved. But then we're
all from the same source, regardless of what you believe that source is. So polarity, as what I'd believe to be a pure, God-breathed expression of Christian faith, within it is an antidote to this polarity, namely living by the Spirit. It's what we're called to do, by the way, clearly instructed to prioritize living by the Spirit over living according to the law. Just read the book of Galatians and how important this was. If perfect love cast out all fear, and we're invited into living by the Spirit from a God of love, I'd imagine that living by the Spirit should make us less fearful, cause less lines to be drawn, less pressure to figure stuff out, because we're not good at that anyway. So living in the Spirit provides an opportunity to love others we may not agree with, and then just let it rest there. When someone says, I wish we could get back to the good old days, when we had prayers in school, there's far more moral clarity back then. We were less tolerant of evil. No wonder we felt better in the 1950s. God had our backs because we were doing the right things. Now, besides the obvious not so fast, schools were segregated. Did God have our backs for that too? Besides that, did you hear something? That's all law stuff. We had rule in the public schools. We could pray. Moral clarity. Less tolerant. Sounds like law stuff to me. The law is what we're supposed to be free from. But think about it. Prayer in school. Clarity. Less tolerance. Black and white. All law. A lot of people don't like this following setup I'm about to give, and I get it. And I hate if it ruffles feathers. I do want you to know that I've cleared this setup with some leaders in the church who would consider themselves to be LGBTQ. It's important that I have approval somewhere to articulate the following rationale. So let's just say being gay is a sin. Now let's reflect on the good old days when people said we were more resolute with right and wrong, the spirit of the law, all these things Jesus saves us from. So many would say that in having our arms wide to love and understanding of the LGBTQ community, we're getting away from moral clarity and have society going in the wrong direction. It's bad. We have to draw some lines. Hey, drawing lines is the most loving thing we can do when it comes to right and wrong. But again, Jesus says we're free from bondage. We're free. And when cornered to give an answer for what's the most important thing we can concentrate on, it was loving God, loving our neighbor as we love ourselves. And the door is open and permission is given to allow ourselves to be led by the Holy Spirit, which will always guide us into love. So in 2024, let's take the LGBTQ community. Is there more of the following things for these people? And amongst them, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. I think we'd all say yes. Now, many would say, yeah, and that's the problem. But this should mean something. More love, joy, peace, kindness. This should be valued, being set free from law and having a priority on love. So there's more kindness and acceptance of a certain group of people, I'd say, on behalf of the Christian faith. If the church is contributing to this in any way, I'd say at the very least we've got our foundation right. But many people in the church see all of this as dangerous allowances. And I say this, I believe this, and maybe I'm not connecting the dots accurately, but it feels like the church as a whole likes to say Jesus saves us from religion, but organizationally as a church, I don't think we act accordingly, nor care to. So when we say we want to go back to clarifying when we want to go about reestablishing more moral absolutes, but don't seem to care about figuring out how to love people of all kinds who we don't understand. This is religion. So within the church and allowing the Spirit to lead us, we can allow the Spirit to lead others too. Living by the Spirit, what we're called to do should make us less fearful, less pressure to figure stuff out. We have an opportunity to love others we may not agree with, and then just let it rest there. And I'll wrap by saying this isn't a conservative faith issue only. Extreme sects of liberal expressions of faith, oh, you guys have taken us to similar spaces. Many of these folks aren't learning love, and you're showing us that you have the same daggum problem. Well, it's because we all do. We all have a hard time with loving one another. But our faith is supposed to hold an antidote. But in having clearly no antidote to this problem, Christians have demonstrated that many of us, we don't have faith in a new way of living by the Spirit. We rather simply adhere to just one of many other religions. But Joey, I believe some of these different lifestyles you mention is a sin. It'd be unkind to gloss over. That wouldn't be loving not to tell someone the truth. We're polluting our souls, trivializing morality, and the implications of losing sight of all of this can be disastrous. But I would respond in saying we've already done that from the beginning of, well, we'll just start with our country. We've been muddying the waters with more important matters, ones that I don't think are even a debate about whether they're right or wrong. Honesty, equality, honoring the very bonds between mothers and their children, amongst fellow human beings of a different color, respect for others' property. Can't we see that at the very least we're all neck deep in selfish patterns and in need of constant saving from? Can we all be sure about love and our diligence in seeking this God of love we claim to worship? Can our differences take at the very least a second seat? At this point, is this type of unity even possible? When to this day I hear from some that you couldn't even be friends with or cordial with anyone who could vote for a particular candidate. Not one person who votes for Trump. No nuance allowed, no nothing. And when to this day I hear sentiments that shout, you can't even be a real Christian if you have a different perspective of same-sex orientation. Yep, in regards to some people, I do have unfortunate doubts on the possibility of unity, but I will remain hopeful.
You love your neighbor, that can save you, not the words that you say, or just your praying, it's the way that you love that can make a better way when people know that they love. Then you see a heart change. The way that you love your neighbor, that can save you, not the words that you say, or just your praying, it's the way that you love that can make a better way when people know that they love. Then you see a heart change.